Hi everybody and welcome to the latest episode of Dublin Tech Talks. Gavin Fox here. On this episode we're going to be speaking to Jane Gormley, the Careers Director at Code Institute. Code Institute is a Irish business that does a 16-week course within development. It's done remotely. It really encourages people to get into development and technology. So on this episode we're going to be talking through type of people that might be interested in the course, the partners that they do, careers in Ireland at the moment, how courses like the Code Institute is moving that along and you know where we go from there. Really enjoyable episode. I hope you enjoy. I would just like to thank our partners Workhuman and Marissa Meyer for allowing our podcast to take place. Thank you. Jane Gormley, Director of Careers at the Code Institute. Welcome to Dublin Tech Talks.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Very nice to be in our lovely studio
it
for
sure
our podcast.
Is. Yeah.
No, thanks for coming on the show. Do you want to give a bit of a background about who you are, how you got into the Code Institute, and then we'll go from there about the Code Institute and what it does?
Yeah, so my role in the Code Institute, where I've worked for almost 5 years, it's nearly a little work anniversary soon, is that I'm the Careers Director. So we are an edtech platform and we teach people how to become software developers in a really accelerated way. So my role sits between the students who are emerging from the diploma and going out to get their first roles in tech. And then, of course, on the other side of that, I would work really closely with tech employers who are hiring junior tech talent. And I do that all over Europe. So there's a lot of different locations that we move in. So that's where I sit in between those two parties.
And the Code Institute specialises in coders, as in developers, and there's other suites of products within that, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah. So we deliver a diploma in full stack software development. That's our core product. And we deliver that in multiple ways. And we also deliver boot camps in the UK. And we have an L3 program as well, which is a sort of a lower level entry into the world of tech, and then that might lead you on to the level 5 diploma.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So bit I want to get into is the people that are doing the course. So yeah. I think it's a really clever way of transitioning maybe from one career into another, or if you've been maybe sitting at home wondering what to do and you don't want to go to college, education mightn't be your friend or whatever. So what are you seeing as the cohorts that are coming in to do it? And do you speak to them around why they're doing it and their needs? And is there a bit of insight around that if we can go into that?
Yeah. So I think what we're doing is quite unusual. And, you know, this accelerated learning paths is really linked to making tech accessible. So our baseline is that you're over 18. That's the only sort of yes, no that we have. And first, you know, partly just to mention why, some of the reason for that is because everything is delivered online. We have a really extensive online community. So, you know, there are aspects to that we just want to bear in mind. But after that, it obviously gets a little bit more thorough. So the first step is that we conduct a 5-day coding challenge. And this is a free course. Anyone can do this. So anyone can log onto the site, download the 5-day coding challenge and just get a taste of what it's like to learn how to code. And this tells you a lot about yourself, whether or not this is going to be for you, because it might not be.
I've tried it and failed.
Have you? Okay.
I stopped after about 3 days. I was like, no, I tried computer applications when I was 18. I'm not trying this now at 40.
It's funny, isn't it? Like, it's, you know, some people just respond to it really well and are mesmerised, you know, and they've never coded before. Some people obviously maybe find it a bit hard but get there and are hooked. But it's a really good indicator. So it's not a really complex course. But this is a really good taste of what you'll do. It also introduces you to the online learning aspect, which, as you mentioned, is really different from a traditional educational route. So that will also give you some indicators as to whether or not this will work. And then there are conversations to take place. So, most people use this as, like what you said, a career changer, kind of a career pivot, maybe. Some people might work in tech or adjacent to an engineering team and want to learn more about it formally. So there are multiple reasons why people do it, but it's really heavily linked to employment or entrepreneurialism. You know, we would have people coming in who want to understand more about their own business or set up a website or whatever. But, the vast majority of the thousands of students that we enroll every year are doing this for their career.
The student part is quite interesting because it's really intensive for 16 weeks. It's I talk to people that have done the course and are looking for jobs or you speak to them and it is pretty intense. What is the kind of the background to how it's done and how it's delivered and the supports that are there?
Yeah. So the first thing is that it is actually quite flexible. So we would, like a lot of the students will be doing this over the course of a year.
Yeah.
They could be working full time and trying to fit this in around it. So it's definitely something that is a significant commitment. How it works is that once you're onboarded and all those decisions are made and you're kind of getting set up, you organise a timetable with student care. Now, this is our programme is university credit rated, so there are parameters within which, in terms of times, etc., that the work must be done, and it's essentially a 600-hour programme, but it's 600 hours of programming.
Yeah.
You're building projects. You have deadlines like you would have within a sort of a professional environment. There's a certain amount of potential wiggle room with them, but really you got to stick to the commitment that you've made. You work with tutors and mentors. Mentors are assigned, tutors are on demand. It's something that you must have to fit into your life, whether you are considering a job that you have or personal commitments that you have or, all those things that we all kind of do. You're going to have to fit in about another 15 to 20 hours a week around it. So how it works...
Which is really easy.
Yeah, really easy. So you got to work this one out. But it's no, we're joking, but look, it's doable. And I see it being done all the time by people who would never have seen themselves working as software developers or maybe never thought that that it was accessible to them. And I think that that's the beauty of this. So the delivery of the learning is... it's video led, but it's monitored by analytics.
Yeah.
So, we can kind of trace and track how you're doing. And then obviously there's a lot of human led supports around the tutors and the mentors. And then where I come in is the career supports, which is the career supports there from day one.
Yeah.
But I suppose a lot of people really associate them perhaps with, the more tail end of the programme and afterwards. But you retain access to the career supports once you finish the diploma.
I've actually placed 2 people from the course in companies.
Oh, brilliant.
And both didn't go the programming way. They went into program roles or project roles.
Ah, interesting.
They realised after they did the course, they went,
oh, hold on.
Actually, I don't want a program, but I really like technology. I'd love to get into the softer side of things.
Yeah.
And again, this was second career type people who
excellent
very comfortably would sit in a BA role or a project management type role. And they bring that technical ability in with them, which is, as an
really
employer,
unusual.
which is excellent, because that's what, you're getting a person with a bit of, cleverness behind the ears and a bit of kind of experience of life, which is really hard to employ for. And they're able to bring that nous with them into a really clever role. And
it's exactly that. Maybe we're going to come back to this again, but it's something that we would see so much of, because tech is still so new compared to other industries and still changing so much. And I hope tech as an industry doesn't mind me saying, but there is a level of like austereness to it from the outside, a veneer of perfection and genius and, this feeling that maybe if you haven't worked there, that there's just too much to catch up on, that you can't step in. Yeah. And it's not the case. And the more that tech evolves, of course, it becomes advanced and of course there are different roles, but there's loads of different teams within tech as well. And there's loads of different ways that tech is used in day-to-day business operations. So, just like you were saying, like we would have people who would go in and, work as a DevOps engineer or like work as a tech project manager, having been a very different type of project manager before. But, so there's all these things that they're going to find out along the way. It can be really diverse what you might end up using those skills to do.
I actually think that's one of the things that we don't sell in technology enough is you don't need to be a programmer. Like programming is 5% of a tech team.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, I can't code. And it's like, the people over there code. Like we do everything else over here. And like we speak to designers, project managers, founders that, it's so little about programming, and with low code, no code coming more and more and more. It's like, yes, the really top percent will be doing that, but the understanding the business needs, and we were talking about this before, about that is the the best people, the people who understand why you're building it, it's a revenue
Who speaks
business,
the language.
understand that part and build product for that.
Yeah, exactly. And even just the tools you use within a tech environment, being used to them. But yeah, you're kind of in the danger zone in a business if your tech team are isolated and nobody else understands what they're doing.
So we'll move on to the employers, because that's the fun part.
Yeah.
How has that been received? Mm-hmm. Is there a snobbery aspect of you haven't gone and done a degree, that type of thing, or they've only done a 16-week course, or what's the kind of general feeling when you talk to employers? And is there a difference between large employers and kind of that middle level, lower employer, which is probably more prevalent in Ireland? Yeah.
So I've been finding out so much about kind of traditional education and accelerated education. So like, I suppose the good news is that no, I don't tend to find a snobbery, but I know that it does exist.
Yeah.
And
look at most job specs, they'll say BSc required.
There's but there's also a laziness. Like, I've worked in recruitment for years. We've all seen how sometimes these can be rushed decisions, or they can be really old generic specs. And then also, to be fair, I think like the first university was set up in like 1050 or something, and then the first boot camp was set up in the 90s. So expecting a whole industry to get up to speed when for all that time there's only been one type of way that you can qualify that someone's educated in software development. So in a way, fair enough, it's going to take time for everyone to be universally on the same page. But when it comes to actually hiring, I don't see degrees having an impact anymore. Where I do see it causing problems is in advertising, and people being too nervous to apply for something because, as far as they can tell in the spec, they've ruled themselves out.
But there's a big thing there around female people or female applications. If they're not 90% of the job spec, women won't apply for a job.
Sure, they make their decision in advance.
So if you must have a degree and 8 years experience, and they have not a degree,
and no years experience,
and 7 years experience, they'll go, I won't get the job. Well, males would be like, I'll give it a go and see what happens.
Well, this is, and I'd be more, when it comes to recruitment, particularly having worked in it, I'd be more of the second half. And certainly when it comes to hiring, I would be always looking for maybe behaviours and indicators of someone's behaviour. So look, a CV is a really outdated document. Things should have changed much quicker than they have.
They haven't.
It's crazy. And they're really hard documents to write. And that's one of the things we spend a lot of time helping people with, because, being able to do a job and being able to navigate a recruitment cycle are two completely different things. So we help in a couple of ways from the careers perspective. But when it comes to employers, we work with over 2,000 employers across Europe. Wow, and there's a couple of screening mechanisms there when we're, talking to them and trying to explore whether or not there's potential for this to be a match. Obviously, one of the main criteria is that they hire software developers and that they are on the same page as us in terms of how they qualify them, and that they're fully aware that we have no pre-qualifying educational requirements to do the programme, but this is what they'll learn with us. And then after that, it's competitively sourced roles, but we're preparing our learners or introducing them to employers who want to meet them.
And it has to be an easy sell into employers. I was the CIO's 2013 survey, the ongoing talent crunch.
Yeah.
I'm sick of seeing that.
I know.
It's always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
There isn't enough people coming into a certain industry for enough jobs, and say in Ireland we're at full employment.
Exactly.
There has to be an appetite for a other option of hiring people.
Yes.
And I say that really difficultly as a tech recruiter, but it's great when you see this option. But is there an open arms to it, or is it still? It's
still something that yes, there's an open arms to hiring tech talent, but that doesn't mean that recruitment has become really easy. Yeah. It's still selective. It's still competitive. And definitely the people coming off the programme still, where the problem lies is, and I'm really sorry if I'm offending anyone who sells jobs board or advertising space, but most of the problems that I see lie with the way that recruitment processes work, the way the jobs are advertised, the volume of applications, ATSs, the tracking systems.
It's all broken.
Broken. So, and it can be really disheartening. So I would often talk to learners who go, I've come out, I've done this, I'm brilliant at that, I've done the hackathons. And usually 9 times out of 10, the problem is that they are doing what they expect they should be doing, which is going straight on to massive jobs boards, applying to hundreds of jobs.
You're allowed to name them here, it's great.
Bleep, bleep. And then, having a really poor experience, losing confidence, and wondering whether or not they should just go back to what they were doing before.
Yeah.
The
confidence part, sorry, I'd go completely off topic here. It kills me when I see that, because we'll obviously put a job up and you'll get applications in.
Yeah.
Most of them are wrong, or haven't even looked at the job spec, or just clicking because they feel they have to. But that confidence bit of when you are qualified and you're just not getting conversations with companies. I see it a lot, especially people who may have lost their job, gone back, done something, and they were such a high.
Brilliant CVs and
then they just get lost in this ether of a mess that you might get picked up on.
Yeah.
And it's so disheartening when you speak to them.
I know. And I know it's a really unfair system. Yeah. And, it's something which, within the career service that we built in, we made a really, really, really focused priority on making sure that industry was visible in our career services. And we run 2 or 3 live events every week. And what I am constantly trying to get people to do is to build a network so that when the time comes that they're ready to start recruiting, which can be time consuming, and, the timing element is important. When they're ready to do that they have people that they can go, hi, Gavin, listen, I'm actively interviewing right now. Here's my link if anything comes up.
And that was one of the reasons I started Tech Talks. So the meetup part was to create that kind of community of so people can actually speak to other people within technology. Yeah. We don't have we're not a Java only or whatever. So we have one tonight is a leadership one. And it's very much about people who are in leadership or want to get into leadership. And then they get to meet other people. And that was the whole premise behind it. Yeah. But it's very funny when that kind of died with COVID in those 3 years, people kind of nearly forgot that's how you get a lot of the stuff. And I was reading stats about, 60-70% of things that you get, be it new jobs, like sales wins, come from your network. Yeah. 5% come from something cold. So, what should you be focusing on if you're looking for a new job, or if you're trying to get something is create that 60% where you're able to knock on a window. If you want to work for Workday, who do I know in Workday or whatever. Yeah. That's so much warmer, and you get through the front door rather than trying to knock at the back door. Yeah.
And it's funny because we would say that, we would be working with people who've come from completely different backgrounds. So a barista, hospitality, whatever, you name it, they've come through. And it's funny because if we're having a one-to-one conversation, I'd say to them, okay, if you wanted a job as a barista in the morning, what would you do? And they'd say, I'd just walk into a coffee shop. And you go, okay, so why aren't you doing that? Why are you so nervous about doing that with this? Why can't you just send somebody? You need your new network. And that's, it's a huge part of what we provide. Obviously, there's the training element to it, the educational element to it, but the community industry input is just so crucial for career changers. And I think that's something that once the penny drops, and you can see somebody kind of finding their feet, you just know they're going to be fine. And I said this to somebody recently, they were saying, what's your favourite moment in the process? And it's when you see someone just go, okay, I get it, and I'm going to go along to this event, and I'm going to be fine. And then you just know that one foot will follow the other.
And it's about getting out there. It really is and I always find it funny. I call them the professional meetup goers. Yeah, the pizza goers. There's always about 5 or 10 of them in every meetup you see that they're there, and then there's always that cohort of 5 or 10, not about 20% of people that come in, and it's their first one, and they're kind of like, what am I doing here? Who do I know? Yeah. And then by the end of it, they're like, you see them again and again, because it is that, the fear of the unknown. It's get off your phone when you walk into a room, talk to people. It's very difficult for all of us, not even just all of us, to walk into a room not knowing anybody and doing that. But once you do it once, you'll get that connection and you'll find people. And I always say to people who are looking for a job, get out there. And talk to people and go to conferences, go to do whatever, and you'll find something or somebody that you might know, and you crack on and you go from there.
He doesn't even need boots on the ground sometimes. You can do so much of this online. Yeah. I rely heavily on LinkedIn if I wanted to find out something about companies.
What would we do without
What would we have done without it? We love you, LinkedIn.
Don't like their prices, but we like them.
So that is what that is. Look, there are practical steps you must take. You obviously need to be at a certain level in terms of your new skill set.
Yeah.
So by the time you are presenting yourself in this way, you can rest assured that you're ready. But yes, that would be maybe one of the steps that people find hard to take.
And we'll finish up in a minute, but the interpersonal skills.
Yes.
So like the barista type conversations.
Yeah.
That is so hard to find. Like it really is. I always talk about this. It's that.
Yeah.
Like I love hiring people that have come from a service industry, and if we can get that within a technology business, like happy days.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, well, like someone who's comfortable in obviously, let's assume they have the tech now, and this is their new string to the bow. But the variety of roles that are available to them, if they can combine that. So there's really brilliant career paths. They're tech adjoining, tech facing, definitely. Jack and Jason.
I love that one.
Yeah, like they all need a dictionary to explain what they're called. But we also teach people like that, like the career paths. A classic software kind of or modern tech business. Like here's all the different teams. Here's their usual names because they do change, and it can be a bit hard to keep up. But here's typically what they do, and percentage-wise where your strengths are. So we would be able to talk to someone who like that, using our barista who's really comfortable in conversation, well able to sort and fix and solution things when all of their customers are standing there staring at them. And that's a really hard skill. And, they're really highly trained and it's really demanding sort of role. So to be able to do that within a professional services gig and with a more technical kind of audience kind of makes them like a little unicorn candidate, a rare candidate. And sometimes they might come to us and they've deleted loads of the stuff off their CV because they think it's not relevant. And that's where some of that confidence building and guidance is really important.
Last question before we go.
Yeah.
Diversity and inclusion and everything that allowing people to learn online in their own kind of space, that has to bring a lot of people that wouldn't be available on traditional educational markets into the Code Institute or availability to hire.
Look, 100%. There are so many reasons for that. Like one is practical, being able to manipulate your free time in a way that this is available whenever you are. That's obviously massively enabling for people who otherwise would not be able to retrain. And that brings us into the whole kind of not very well represented space of returners, of, parents who have been out of the workforce for a while and are retraining, maybe people who just had a blip, maybe you had a medical reason or you had a commitment to a family member or all these personal reasons, human reasons that mean that people are away from the workforce and then sometimes can't quite crack it back in a professional way. Then, when we go into the range of neurodiversity, individuals who learn really well in a space that they can control a little bit more and manage that. So, we do have people who have started degrees and not finished degrees. And, they can be for reasons of it being ill-suited to the way it was taught, or it could be really practical stuff. I remember speaking to one guy, he had broken his ankle during first year in college and couldn't keep up his part-time job. Funds ran out.
Economics is a mad part of
but literally for the want of a horseshoe nail, So, and I think that there should be more sympathy to that. And I think that this is fixing a big, big, big gap, which otherwise people would be left out. So I think even for that reason alone, this is a really, really important program.
Yeah, I love the company. I love what you're doing. I think it's brilliant for getting people into the industry. So I'm always going to be a big fan. But website is codeinstitute.com.
.net.
It is .net, Jess, that's right. And they can find you on LinkedIn, obviously, if people want to have a chat.
Yes, and then I should have mentioned this to you before, but if this is aired before October the 12th.
Yes, it will be.
Yeah, we are inviting tech employers. We have a really large-scale online event. It's called Elevate. And if they email me, we can give them access to that, or their recruitment team access to that. About 1,000 software developers milling around.
Mightn't do that. Yeah. Joking, of course I will. Protect myself. No, definitely. So when's that? October the 12th?
October the 12th.
Perfect. Yeah. We will get that up and we'll get the talk out before that.
Thanks.
Jane Gormley, Careers Director at Code Institute. Thanks, Mill, for your time.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks Gavin.